I want to bring in Mike Benz now. He's the executive director of the Foundation for Freedom Online. Mike, good to have you with us, sir.
Hey, great to talk to you.
Okay, so Tulsi Gabbard, I don't usually hear a director of national intelligence refer to a treasonous conspiracy in the United States, but for her to say that seems like a big deal.
Yeah, no, I mean it's certainly what I think everyone is feeling, and when you look at what was revealed in these documents, the CIA and FBI assessed that there was effectively no Russian interference of any material degree, and then it looked like there was a secret meeting with President Obama, and everyone was retasked to find a way to include Russian interference, and that's what gave rise to the 3-year special prosecutor probe that ended up bankrupting or devastating a significant proportion of the White House and hamstringing the entire foreign policy apparatus of the Trump administration. I think that while treason is a big word, I would like to see it articulated as a way consistent with the crimes that with whatever charges are going to be brought by the Justice Department.
Yeah, no, that seems clear. As if you've committed a crime, you should be prosecuted for it. The fact that it's over 10 years old is why everybody's talking about a conspiracy, because that opens up the statute of limitations to look at the whole sweep of events that have happened over the last decade, Mike.
That's exactly right. There's so many times where we have a conspiracy to cook intelligence in American history, whether that's the cooked intelligence that took us to war in Iraq and Afghanistan, or the cooked intelligence about Russian bounties on people's heads in Syria and beyond. But this was one of these cooked intelligence conspiracies that truly devastated the ability to administer U.S. foreign policy around Russia and Eurasia affairs, that truly hamstrung the entirety of the Trump administration, and that cast a huge amount of doubt in the legitimacy of our election system. The same people who would later come back and effectively criminalize questioning the legitimacy of U.S. election infrastructure, like mail-in ballots and electronic voting machines, they were the original election deniers by effectively arguing that the Trump election wasn't legitimate. And at some point, this will continue as long as intelligence officials believe that there's no penalty for doing it. And this has to be the last straw. John Brennan and Jake Sullivan and Comey and this whole network that were involved in cooking this intelligence, if there is not a criminal penalty for that, then there's going to be no reform. There needs to be an image that's seared into the intelligence world's minds that you can only push things so far, because we give them power, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you think that you are untouchable, James Clapper openly lied to Congress about domestic bulk intelligence. And when a couple of years later, within the statute of limitations, the Snowden leak showed that Clapper had lied to the American people's faces, and he got away with perjury.
Yes.
That was one of those incredible moments where everyone thought, okay, well, if they can get away with that, they can get away with anything. And then they got away with Russiagate.
Yes.
And if they're allowed to get away with it, then we need an image that burns in people's minds that we can only push it so far, or else we're going to end up like person X, whoever that is, whether that's John Brennan or Barack Obama or whoever. There has to be justice.
So what you're describing is the reason why so many people are pessimistic about the chances of any justice being had here, because we've been through it a million times and we've known so much, and there's no one's held accountable. I wanted to find out from you, Mike, if you think that the cast that's working for President Trump now makes a difference, because Tulsi Gabbard is not holding any punches here. You do have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at the top of the FBI. They've both written books on this subject. They're intimately familiar with the scandal that's involved here. Do you think it makes a difference that the president has a different and I think better team with him this time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Director Gabbard herself at ODNI said, when she was going through these, she was shocked that Durham missed it, that Durham didn't publish any of these. I think she felt combination of confused and shocked that she was the the one who discovered these documents, given that there was, a special probe on it led by Durham, and none of these documents came out then, while Trump, was president the first time and actually under the gun of all of this. But the fact is when it comes to the criminal indictment side of this, you have the issue of, if you bring an indictment and then they are, a jury finds them innocent, you could see there being blowback about that, because you've got a fundamental problem of a DC jury in this case,
right,
which is that, I think the defense that Obama and Brennan would make is that they believed at the time the credibility of the Steele dossier, and that on the basis of the Steele dossier, they asked for, a second draft of the, a rewrite of the intelligence community assessment to account for it. And that they would, given that I think that Democrats have a much, I want to say more favorable, but a much more acceptable or tolerant view of the legitimacy of the Steele dossier, that you could potentially have a DC jury where you have 95% Democrats, ultimately acquit, folks at the end of that process. But,
right.
And this was the argument made by Robert Hur, by the way. Robert Hur, when if folks remember, this was the case of the Justice Department investigation of Biden having classified documents at his house at the same time that the Justice Department had brought criminal charges against Donald Trump for having classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. And so after the Justice Department indicted Donald Trump, it came out that Joe Biden had classified documents in his garage and at the Penn
Correct.
Biden Center and the like. And so everyone was saying, well, there's a two-tier justice system. You've arrested one president for something that the current president is guilty of. So why isn't the Justice Department arrest the current president? And Robert Hur, what he found and he published, which was incredible, is he said, actually, yes, it's true. Biden did knowingly mishandle classified documents, but we're not going to bring charges because we believe a DC jury would look at this senile old man who presents himself in a gentle way and simply not find him criminally liable. And
Right.
so basically you had the Justice Department say he's guilty of the same crime, but we're not going to bring the criminal case. And that to me can no longer be the case.
Of course.
You can't determine whether or not to run someone through the gauntlet of the criminal justice system, where they're paying millions of dollars of lawyers' fees, and they are run through the press because the Justice Department has publicly said they have enough evidence to pursue a criminal indictment, and simply not indict someone because you think a DC jury is going to is going to be rigged in their favor.
But in the Justice Department that this has to be a practical consideration as they figure out a way to go forward. This is why we've heard a lot in the last week, Mike, that if they stretch this out into what they keep referring to as a grand conspiracy, they may be able to impanel this grand jury in Florida, not in D.C., because in Florida is where Jack Smith raided Mar-a-Lago. Right. And the grand theory here is that was in furtherance of the conspiracy. You think that could work?
Well, I defer to them. I certainly think that Florida would be a more equitable jurisdiction. You're talking about the, for all of the jury shopping that's been done by this same network, in all of the malfeasance that they've effectuated, yes, from the January 6th prosecutions to the Russiagate terror. I think that if they were to get a taste of their own medicine that way, yes, in terms of having, having a bit of venue shopping in that way, as long as it's legally practicable, I think that would be something that it would be karmic justice to pursue.
And it would give us a shot here at justice. Okay, Mike Benz, I know you're busy. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you as always.